Hey everyone, so this is going to be Law and Order, True Crime, the Menendez murders. They don't have specialized titles for this show like with regular shows like SVU and all the other pretty much all the other shows that are out here in the U.S. From what I know, um, the UK and other countries do what True Crime is doing, where they just title their episodes Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3, stuff like that. So this is like that because they don't have specialized titles for each episode. So basically, um, I'll just go chronologically here, since this is going chronologically in time. And it starts off on August 21st, 1989 at 2:38 a.m. They were very specific, and it starts on that day and that very early in the morning, where after Jose and Kitty Menendez are killed, someone calls into 911, and makes this incoherent phone call to the 911 operator. And we find out that a little bit later that Jose and Kitty Menendez are the victims, and their sons Lyle and Eric had found the gate open, and their parents dead. Um, there apparently there were no shell casings left behind because apparently the killers took it. So apparently that's like one of the first things. That's a new thing that's happened at that time. I don't know for sure. I mean, don't quote me. I mean, that's what the detective said. That's what Zoller said. So I mean, I don't know. I'm just going off what he said. But anyway, so they bring Lyle and Eric in, and they both tell what they know. And Eric is obviously more distraught and stuff than Lyle ever appears to be in this entire episode. And it's like a theme throughout the entire show. At least this episode, and I'll I will touch on that. Um, I will touch on that later in the episode, at the end of the episode, and give you what I think is going on. Um, so anyway, so both Eric and Lala are saying the same thing, that they went to go see the Batman movie, then apparently go to a wine tasting with their friend Perry, but they say their friend never showed up. Lyle, Lyle, is then asked like who could have done this, and he's like, well, my dad's this great guy. Even though he's laid off a bunch of people and all of that. And he's like, well, my mother was always unstable and suicidal, which apparently has only gotten worse recently. So he's really playing up his father, and how he's like very very very, what's the word? He's very, his father is very beloved to him. I guess you could say, like, he and his father had this greater connection and all that, and they're and all that stuff, which doesn't seem to be the case, seeing as what we see throughout the entire episode. So anyway, we then get the first glimpse of Leslie Abramson, who is played by Edie Falco, and she's the defense attorney for Lyle and Eric when they get arrested later because as you guys saw, they didn't get arrested this episode. But they obviously will. I assume by next episode. I haven't seen the preview actually for next episode because I don't know why I didn't watch the preview for next episode, but I didn't watch it. So I'm still gonna give you what I think about at the end of the episode. But anyway, so Leslie, we get a first glimpse of Leslie Abramson, and she's defending this 19-year-old kid, I think, who was abused as a kid, apparently abused as a kid, by his father, and so he therefore killed his father to keep from being abused some more. That's the first we see of her. So then Eric and Lyle go home and they're trying to get some tennis gear, and this is the same day that the parents were killed. So, but Detective Zoller is all confused about why they would be playing tennis, and yeah, that's a little weird. And I believe that this is where Zoller first started suspecting them, was because they're all, well, I want to go play tennis, or no, well, really it's Eric. I mean, they both play tennis, I think, but Eric is more the tennis prodigy, and because apparently he was on his way to playing pro tennis, so I mean, so Eric, they're there because they're trying to get gear so that Eric can play, or Eric can practice and shit like that, and just like, well, why are you? It's just like, it's just weird, and I can see why he got suspicious then. So, ultimately Zola doesn't let them in because they still need to look around, like they still need to collect evidence and just look around and collect evidence and all that. So he can't let them in. This is because, like he said, they can mess up evidence if they get in. So anyway, so once back inside, his partner, I think his name is Tom Lalahan or something like that. His partner has found 2 rifles. They're not the shotguns that were they're not the guns that were used, but they're rifles. And all the pills in the medicine cabinet are prescribed to Kitty. Sleeping pills, depression pills, and something else. I can't remember what it is, but something else. I know you rambled off some like 3 different types of medication. Can't remember what it is, but okay. So anyway, the next day on August 22nd, at Live Entertainment where Jose worked, detectives find out that Jose didn't like the former owner, whose name is Noah Bloom, because Bloom got a start in the porn industry by selling porn. And we also find out that there's this guy named Morris Levy who owned a chain of record stores that Jose bought, and Levy supposedly with the mob, like he's in cahoots with the mob apparently. So that's why Jose didn't like him. And Jose doesn't really have any friends, at least not friends outside of work, because he considers the people he works with as friends, and that's really about it. We also find what I think is a pretty big indicator of the boys' what appears to be the boys' guilt, at least in this part of the story. Because obviously they were convicted of their parents' murder eventually, but at this point in the investigation, this is just suspecting that they did the killing. or did the murders. So what we find out is that the Menendez family used to live in Calabasas. Not sure how far away that is compared to far away that is from Beverly Hills, or Bel Air, or LA, or anything. I'm not sure how far away that is. But they used to live there before moving to Beverly Hills. And the reason they moved is because Eric broke into a neighbor's house. So later that day, Eric and Lyle are at the Hotel Bel Air with family. Kitty's sister comes in. What the? What is? I can't remember what she looks like. But oh, now I remember. She used to. I think she used to play the mom on on Fabulous. I can't remember her name. Or I don't know her name, but she used to play the mom on Fabulous. I think she used to play the mom on Fabulous. I think so. That was a show on Nickelodeon. If you guys don't know, that I used to watch like back in like 2005, like from 2004 to like 2007. So, but anyway, that's how I know her. If that's where she's from, and she sure as hell didn't look too happy to be there, at all. I was just like, damn. She looks like she would rather be anywhere else, preferably hell probably, than there. At least that's what I saw. Anyway, so Lyle has this flashback of him and his father talking, and Lyle wants in this flashback, Lyle wants to go to Europe to spend a year there with his girlfriend, whose name is Jamie. Um, he wants to go there because she's also a tennis player and wanting to become pro, and she's gonna be there for, like I said, she's gonna be there for a year, and he doesn't want to spend all that time apart from her, so he wants to go there for a year. But Jose is like, no, you're not. What did I tell your ass? Your ass is either gonna be working or you're gonna be in school. Sounds like my dad. He sounds like my dad. Like, dead ass sounds like my dad. Anyway, so you're either gonna be working or you're gonna be going to school, or I guess both. I mean, I don't know if you. I guess that's kind of implied, I guess, but anyway, so you're gonna be working or you're gonna be going to school, and Lyle lets slip that he and Jamie are engaged to be married, and this is news to Jose. Um, and he says, "Well, she's 5 years older than you. This relationship is inappropriate, and all she is a gold digger because she wants your money." And so then at this point, I just busted out laughing because I was like, "Boy, really? Like, okay." First of all, your ass don't know that. You really don't know that. Well, apparently, that's what I was thinking at that point. But apparently, Lyle has this thing with sleeping with apparently sluts and women who apparently only want their money, like access to their money. So I don't know. Apparently that's a thing that we find out later or whatever. Um, So, and Lyle was like, well, she's able to play tennis and she's got sponsorships and shit and stuff. And his father's like, well, who do you think paid for the sponsorships and leave? And so, anyway, so eventually he's given the company credit card, because apparently their allowance was only $120 a month, and they can't live. Apparently, they can't live on that because, I mean, otherwise he wouldn't have brought it up if he. And he brings up to his aunt's his aunt, what's her name? His aunt, Marta. Yeah, I think it's Marta. Marta. So he brings it up to her, and she's like, well, okay, here's the company credit card. Like, I mean, if you can, like, I mean, you live in a house, in a fucking mansion, and you can't live on $120 a month. Like, it's not like you're paying, like, you're gonna have to pay for the house, because I think it's already paid for. At least it seems like it's already paid for. So, why exactly do you need more than $120 a month to feed yourself? And because you already had, like, you already, like, like, they both get $120 a month. So, I mean, that's $240 every month together. So that's more than enough to get food and maybe get some movies once in a while. I mean, you don't need, like, I mean, unless you're bougie as hell and get the best fucking, like, the best of the best of the best fucking food there is, then I mean, why the fuck do you need more than that? But whatever. I mean, I guess you can say that they only, like, live this one lifestyle or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, um, so uh. Zolar's like, we're back at the crime scene, and Zolar's like, well, I don't think this double murder was committed by the usual suspects, meaning bangers or loners or anything. It feels like it's closer to home. So yeah, um, at the memorial service that the company is holding for the parents, um, their Uncle Carlos is unhappy that Lyle is wearing a gold watch he bought only 4 days after the parents were murdered. And he's wearing it in front of the cameras at the memorial service because he feels like it's gonna look bad. And it does look bad. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess I can see why it would look bad. Excuse me. But Lyle's like, well, my father would have wanted me to wear this. Okay, boy, bye, whatever. Um, so we see Leslie for the second time, and she sees the news broadcast covering the murders, and she asks her husband, or at least I think it's her husband, who is a journalist, what he thinks, and he's like, well, everyone thinks it's mafia related, but Leslie said just says straight out, the boys did it, and just walks the fuck away. I'm like, girl, I like her. I like her. I like the character, because Edie Falco is doing a great job. I don't think I've seen her in anything else really. I may have, but I didn't really care who she was at the time, or I didn't know who she was at the time. But either way, I like her. So, Zoller notices back at the police station that a window on the door was broken, and the front door also open, there would have been a draft. So it doesn't make sense how Eric could have seen and smelled the smoke 2 hours after the murders took place. And we find out from the captain or the lieutenant, I can't remember what he said, but found out that the boys were not tested for GSR when they were brought back to the station because they were broken up, or they were so broken up. So, like, okay. So the detectives questioned Perry, the friend that was supposedly, or who was supposed to meet them afterwards, after the movie, and he says that when Eric and Lau didn't show up in Santa Monica by 10:30 p.m., he went home, went to sleep, and then got a call around 11:15 from Lyle saying they got lost. They apparently got lost. Awfully convenient. He also said that Lyle still wanted to meet up about Princeton issues, which involved him plagiarizing, which then in turn got him suspended. Perry said he wanted to meet at the Cheesecake Factory in Beverly Hills, but Lyle insisted on meeting at the house to get an ID for Eric. And when Perry went to the restaurant, they never showed up. So when Perry goes to call a client to tell them that they're going to be late, he's going to be late. Detectives agree that the only reason Lyle kept insisting to meet at the house afterwards was to have a witness to their shock and all that. Eric is apparently having a hard time because he seems to only be cared about his mother's depression. And we see this in a flashback. So we find out from his cousin that their father was recording the phone calls, and I guess it explains why his mother always knew what he was up to or something like that. His cousin then calls a therapist, the boy's therapist. He tells him he's worried about Eric and that he will hurt himself because he's having trouble sleeping and is having nightmares and staying in dark rooms all day. And the therapist kind of dismisses it, it seems. And lo and behold, the therapist is having an affair. Really not surprised. I don't know why I'm not surprised. I'm just really not surprised about that. Zoe then gets a call about the boy saying to talk to a guy named Eric who went to high school with Eric, Craig, a guy named Craig who went to school with Eric in Calabasas. So they go over to Craig's house, and we find out that he and Eric, the screenplay he and Eric wrote, was about a boy who killed his parents and inherits millions. And that it was Eric's idea to write that script. And we also find out that the car the boys drove that night is missing. And it's just very much looking like it's the boys at this point who killed their parents. So, we also see Leslie for a third time, who talks to this guy who represented Eric for breaking and entering, and he tells Leslie that both Eric and Lyle were both involved in those incidents, but Jose made Eric take the fall for all of it because Eric was a minor and Lyle is obviously older, and if he was convicted, he would have a record because of that. So the records of the calling cards that the boys used the night of the murders comes in, and whatever is on the paper officially makes the boys a suspect. We don't see it, and we don't know, so we don't know what's on it. I'm assuming we'll find out that information next week when they bring in the boys for questioning officially as suspects. Well, yeah, I guess officially as suspects. Okay, so it looks like 8 days later, on August 30th, detectives question the boys' aunt, Marta. Find out the boys made a call. Well, I guess this is one of the things that we find out about the call records, but everything else, I guess we don't really know about. Because I think there's more to the call list than what we find out right now in this part of the episode, where the boys made a call to a bank to get their parents' safe deposit box opened. Marta went with them, but she wasn't in the actual room with them. She went to the bank with them, but she wasn't in the actual room with them when they opened the box. So she can't 100% vouch for what was in there. In flashback, we learn the boys are made the sole heirs to the house, and I think other things as well. And but Lyle says that can't be right because their father told them that they were being taken out of the will. And so Marta's like, well, I think Jose just said that to scare them. But we find out from their brother Carlos that who is the executor of the will, that he talked to Jose and he was dead set on taking the boys out of the will because they don't seem to care about making a way for themselves, and how they just don't seem to care about all they seem to care about is waiting for their inheritance. So Carlos let slip that they found a will in the bathroom with the boys still in it, which was dated, I think they said, in 1980. And the file about the will that Jose was redoing was erased. When the detectives find out that Lyle wrote a check for $150 to a computer firm in West LA, they then go talk to the guy from the firm, and he says he was paid around $130 by Lyle, who was urgently trying to get something erased from the computer. So we find out that there were 4 files that Lyle wanted erased. 3 were written over, and the one marked will was corrupted. So after the guy from the firm goes to make a phone call, detectives speculate that the will was in the works by the parents, and it was either never finished or they changed their minds. And Zoller is like, well, get rid of the parents, get rid of the will, and get rid of the new will, and everything will be fine, and they'll get their inheritance again. So the last thing we see is Eric coming home with his cousin and his grandma, and he's walking into the living room, and he has an anxiety attack. What it seems like he seems like he's having an anxiety attack. And I mean, even though everything's been cleaned and professionally cleaned, he still seems to be having this anxiety attack. So, and his cousin finds him on the floor, like sitting on the floor, clutching at the wall, hyperventilating. Now this brings me to my I don't know if I should say predictions or just my own theory about the crime myself, about the crime itself, but this is what I think happened. I think both Lyle and Eric planned the murders. I think they did. Based off of what I've seen so far, I think based off of what we know so far about so far that's happened in the days leading after the days after the murders, I think the boys cahooted in killing their parents. But what I think, but I personally think that Lyle was a mastermind, personally. I think he was a mastermind, personally. And I think he spearheaded the whole thing. And whenever whenever Eric was on the verge of, backing out, he would, in a roundabout way, encourage him to continue the plan. I don't think Eric necessarily wanted to do. I mean, I think he was upset with his father. I think he was. I think he didn't. I think he was upset with, like, angry with his father because his father didn't seem to be all that worried about his mother's mental health, and so therefore was upset that his father was just like upset with his father. But I don't think he necessarily had the will and he had the will and the drive to murder his parents, especially his mother, because as I saw in the flashback earlier, he was, he seemed very concerned with his mother and her depression. Lyle and Jose, not so much. So I don't necessarily think that I think he was willing to kill his father, but when Lyle also killed their mother, he I guess he started, he got this PTSD thing going on, where he regrets doing it, and so therefore he's like feeling guilty about it and all that stuff. So I don't, I mean, I think I guess initially went along with it, but he wasn't dead set on doing it. It wasn't his plan to do it. Like, he didn't set out to do this. He just did it because Lyle, who's his older brother, who he worships, said that they needed to do it. Because they were both being taken out of the will, and Lyle wanted his inheritance back and all that. So that's what I think is going on, at least as far as Eric goes. I mean, obviously don't know why Lyle did it, but I mean, I'm assuming he did it because he was taken out of the will and all that. So, I mean, overall, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know for sure how I feel about the entire episode. I mean, because it's just the first episode, so I don't know for sure how I feel about it 100%. I mean, I guess that's what it's all, like, the entire show is all about. Like, watching the entire season is all about, is just to see how, I mean, because the first episode is kind of like, I mean, you still feel, trying to see where you feel, how you feel about it and everything, and about the first episode. And I mean, I felt this way about a lot of shows like Empire and let's see, what else? I felt the same about Empire and Vikings and all that. I mean, these kind of, like, and just those types of shows, just like with all this drama and stuff in it, and it's just, I mean, I live off of drama, but because I watch SVU all the time, but I mean, I don't know, it has a different feel to it than SVU does, definitely. And even with, like, the other two Law and Order shows, like the original and the Criminal Intent version, I mean, they just, all three of those have a different feel to it. I guess because it's based off of a true story, that's why it has a different feel to it. But I don't know. Anyway, so I mean, it seems fine so far, considering it's a anthology of a real life story. So But yeah, yeah, this is longer than I thought it would. This particular video is longer than I thought it was gonna be, but hopefully I can kind of cut it down a little bit next episode. Maybe to about 20 minutes. Hopefully, I don't know. I mean, if it doesn't turn out to be 20 minutes long every recap, I guess that's fine. But so far, I like it. I'm still trying to. I mean, it seems alright so far. So I'm still trying to get into the get into it a little bit, a tiny bit. But I mean, it seems fine so far. So, until next week. I will see. I'll see you guys until next week for this show. Doesn't look like Reverie is coming on until maybe sometime in October or November. And what's the other one called? Life Happens or something like that. That's not. It doesn't look like that one's coming on until 2018. So this one's gonna be the one that I'm recapping for a little bit. And I think Elementary is coming on sometime. I think next week. I think it's next week, but I have to see. Or this week. I think it's coming on this week, but I have to see when it's actually coming on. But I'll definitely do that. Do Elementary too. Probably if it comes on this weekend, I'll probably do it. Make a video for it on Monday. But until then, I will see you guys later. Bye.